According to the CDC, there are an estimated 2.6 million emergency room department visits for injuries related to commonly played sports in children 19 years and younger. That's 7,123 per day, 297 per hour, or 1 every 5 seconds. Thank you, parents and players, for being here today. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I feel this is very important information that you need to be aware of. Like many of you, my son, Eric, is a high school football player, and of course he thinks he is invincible. He has played football since he was 5 years old, and to tell him that he cannot play because of my fear of being injured would be devastating to him. And like most of you parents already know, trying to explain to a teenage boy that they're not invincible is a whole other issue. So instead, I want to educate you and your children about when injuries are more likely to happen, what to watch for to know when our children may need to sit the bench, and the consequences if they don't. We know by allowing our kids to participate in a full contact sport, there are real possibilities for injuries. While football players wear more protective gear than any other sport, our athletes are still at very high risk, whether it be during workouts, practice, or in games. Football, one of the most popular sports among male high school students in the United States, is a leading cause of sports-related injuries. In a recent study done by the University of Colorado at Denver, National High School sports-related injuries during the 2016-17 season shows that football players are far more likely to be injured during a game rather than during practice. About 68% of these injuries happened while players were tackling. Another 22% occurred while players were blocking, and 28% of football injuries were to players' head or face. Those included concussions. While we as parents are not watching our children as closely as we were when they were younger, it's still up to us to pay attention. Team spirit and school spirit are both great things. However, many times a student athlete will let this get between them and their own personal safety. 54% of student athletes in a recent survey confessed to having played while injured. When asked why, they answered, "I couldn't let the team down," or "it was an important game." 42% of student athletes said they have hidden or downplayed an injury during a game so they could keep playing. 62% of student athletes claim to know someone else who has done the same. 53% of coaches complain that they have felt pressure from the parent or the player to put a student athlete back into a game after the student athlete has been injured. With that being said, it is up to us as parents to make sure we are paying attention. We want our boys to grow up to be tough young men, but more than anything, we want them to be smart and take care of themselves. I tell my son, this is the only body you have. Take care of it. There's never a replacement. We need to reiterate that to our kids and talk with them about what is more important, the game right now compared to their entire future. We also need to be watching for physical signs that our boys might be hurt worse than they're letting on. Headaches that do not go away, muscle aches or pains in the same area after every practice or game, memory problems, or even blurry vision. There are a lot of kids out there on that field. While we know our kids are the most important to us, all the kids are important to the coaches. They may not have the one-on-one time to dedicate to the injuries like we as the parents do. So, as hard as it is with kids running here, there, and everywhere, as teenagers do, take the time to talk to your children. Educate them on the importance of getting an injury looked at by the athletic director, or physical therapist, or even a doctor if needed. And discuss with them the importance of their future compared to this one moment in time. It is our responsibility to keep our children safe. There can be lasting consequences to our children playing injured, and we have the right to stop them at any time. If you feel your child is injured, do not hesitate to speak up. There should always be an open-minded communication between players, parents, and coaches. High school football players have been known to have all different types of injuries, from a simple bruise to a broken bone, some of them more obvious than others. However, even a slight injury going untreated can lead to a lot of health issues in the future. Examining data from 100 national representative high schools in injuries during the 2005-2007 school years, researchers at the Research Institute and Nationwide Children's Hospital Center for Injury Research and Policy in Columbus, Ohio, also found that the most commonly injured part of the bodies were the knees, the shoulders, hands, and fingers, and the most common diagnosis were fractures, incomplete ligament sprain, and complete ligament sprain. That's not including the increased number of concussions that have been reported in recent years. One study done by the National Center for Injury Prevention says that 47% of high school football players are diagnosed with a concussion each season. Parents, these are serious injuries that we need to be on the lookout for our children. This is their brains we're protecting here, and a child playing with a concussion can have serious repercussions to their future. The book, Unintended Impact, One Athlete's Journey from Concussions in Amateur Football to CTE Dementia, is just one detailed possibility of the results of diagnosed and untreated concussions. This is a heartbreaking story of Dick Probeskel, underlines the importance of protecting our young athletes' most vital strength. It's their minds. As our knowledge of these injuries develop, we as coaches, parents, teachers, and administrators must remember these stories as we work towards creating safer competition in the sports that are such an important part of our culture. Taking the precautions to ensure your child's safety is a priority among all of us parents. However, we allow our children to be at risk for injury just allowing them to play the sport. What we can do to try to prevent long-term injury is to educate ourselves and our children on the possibility of injury, the signs of injury, the risk of playing with an injury, and the importance of communication. I have shared with you just a glimpse into the possible injuries your child could sustain from playing football at a high school level. They can be hurt at any time during practices or games, and the injuries can be serious and life-altering. Know the signs and communicate with your children. This is just one moment in a whole lifetime of moments ahead of them. Nothing is more important than their health.